Pre-panel jostling for seat position based off of the angles, you know? Awesome.
Who's the most vain on the panel? That's the question.
It's a tough one. I've known you all for 14 hours or so. Hi everybody, my name is Reggie Panaligan. I am the general manager at Haus Analytics. We are the leading marketing experimentation platform. We basically help brands and advertisers understand the incrementality of their media. So with that PSA, we're going to make a hard pivot to talk about music. So we're all in for a treat. This is an esteemed group of individuals. That was a tough first joke.
No, it's good. I'm loving it, Reggie. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, everyone's in for a treat. We've got an esteemed panel here to talk about the importance of music and brand partnerships. They all have a collective amount of experience across different industries and also from different vantage points that we can, I'm sure, all have a bunch of takeaways from this panel. So that's the goal here is to have you all in the audience learn from these folks. So I am going to stop talking. I'm going to have you find people, introduce yourselves, and also not only introduce yourself, what's the song that's been stuck in your head?
To be fair, we were prepped on that. Hi everyone, I'm Shauna Alexander. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Empire. You probably don't know what Empire is. It's a record label, but you do know my #1 artist, which is Shabuzi. He's having a moment, clearly. Yeah, thank you. He's fucking incredible, to be quite honest. He also played brand Innovators Cam Lion Party back this past summer, well before he was #1. So it's nice to be full circle. Thanks, brand Innovators, for having us. And yeah, I think that's, the song. I'm a big old school Strokes fan, and Julian Casablancas has another band called The Voids. So his song, Set the Forces with The Voids, has been in my head a lot. It just came out 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. By the way, if you ever want to feel uncool, host a panel with these three. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a really good record!
You've heard it.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Augusta. I am the marketing lead and events and influencer at Affila, which you have probably never heard of, but you've probably heard of Sony and Honda. So Sony Honda Mobility is a 50-50 joint venture between Sony and Honda to create a entertainment-infused electric vehicle. So new brand for us. But my song has been in my head, so as much as I've tried to get it out of my head, whoever made the playlist today is a big into the pop girly, so Sabrina Carpenter's Please, Please, Please. It's just a hit. Pulling for her at the Grammys, but it's stuck in my head for sure.
Yeah, I'm Scott. I run growth at Skims. We launched our Dolce campaign, so please shop it today. It's a solutions brand for women's loungewear. We also sell men's. The song that's stuck in my head, I kind of have 2 modes, so lately I've been listening to whatever Dijon has on his album. I'll play that pretty fluidly, and then my second mode, which is, afternoon, maybe I'm a little fatigued, is Little Demon by Future, and that's just a little energy boost I get.
There you go, love it. All right, let's
What's your
song? Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather, but also there's a remix by an old guy on YouTube who plays a really amazing acoustic. It's old, so search Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather, old guy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in. I did my homework for this panel. Does the name Enrico Caruso mean anything to you? Anyone in this room? Wow, we got the tech guy. Thanks, there we go. We got one. Enrique Caruso is responsible, the lore is that he is the first musical artist to sign a brand partnership. This is in 1906. He was an opera singer. He signed a partnership with Victor, which is an early record player. Basically, the brand partnership put opera on the map. And also put Victor on the map. So 3 of you stand on the shoulders of Enrico Caruso. And there's a long history of brand music partnerships. We tie that all together. Talk to me, one, about a brand music partnership either you've worked on or have not worked on, that just, what's the first one that comes to mind, either in a bad or good way, and tell me why.
Yeah, for me, I have a feeling we'll talk about a couple that we've worked on. So I love the Levi's campaign with Beyonce for Cowboy Carter. I think it's super strong. The imagery in the laundromat is super strong and relevant. And I think the palatability of country and the rise of country to a larger audience definitely this year is like a perfect moment for Levi's to kind of interject itself as like a denim king or queen, I guess.
I won't steal his answer or repeat it, but a similar vein of country being such an industry right now across the board of all these different types of artists, and you've seen it in the Grammys and the award season. But I went to an event this past week, and it was this very surprising music partnership was Post Malone and UGG. So I'm very much a believer in natural connection. So he's a fan of the brand, helped collaborate and create a shoe that he loved and promoted, and then also just think he was the loveliest human. He did a performance and then greeted every single person in the room after the event. So I was very impressed. I think that's what we look for in partnerships, is that genuine connection, and also we like to work with great people.
I feel like Post Malone is enlightened lately. Maybe
It's mushrooms.
Oh. She's in the music industry. There it is. You heard it first.
No, don't tell him I said that.
This is recorded.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get in trouble. Cease and desist coming in my inbox right now. Mine, I'm gonna do one that's personal because it's one of the biggest ones I've done in my career. Traditionally, I've worked with independent and emerging artists, and I was very fortunate to work with Jack Harlow and help create his relationship with New Balance. And so to see that start from him just being in a campaign, wearing their clothes, already wearing their shoes, he was like a super fan, to now he has his own colorways, his own line, and then New Balance actually went ahead and supported White Men Can't Jump, which he acted in. So that relationship has grown from him being an individual artist all the way to this sort of like full ecosystem, similar to what Posty is doing. And to me, it's just one of my favorites because it really shows the staying power of doing the right thing with the right artist.
Yeah, and each of you have mentioned that's a wide variety of sort of partnerships. How have you, you guys are obviously close in the space, how have you seen music and its role in marketing kind of evolved over the past, let's say, couple of years?
Sure, yeah. I think consumer preferences are kind of at an all-time high. Like the term for you page, my algo, is kind of new, maybe rose in the last 2 years. So we think about sounds and the relevance in terms of our lives and content consumption. It's pretty omnipresent. You have Spotify Wrapped, things that are coming up, and things that are very personal, and it's almost a representation of self. I think the sound alignment there is kind of obvious to everybody in the room, and so making sure you're part of that culture, part of that omnipresence in people's minds, and you're relevant in it is pretty important.
Yeah, I think that with the Philo, part of what this car is going to be is tapping into those new, technologies of AI, and it's really learning the things that you like, the preferences. So you get in the car, and the incredible audio system is tuned to how you like to listen to music, similar to what Jordy was saying this morning with Olivia Rodrigo. It's going to have this incredible sound experience, and I think that's what people want now. They want it personalized. They don't want to think about it. They just want to get in and go. So I think that's a huge aspect of that personalization and the understanding of you and your preference.
So real talk. Everybody knows what an ad is, right? Everybody's kind of sick of them all over your platforms. The easiest way to get in contact with somebody, to get them to buy something, because we're all in advertising, right? We're trying to get people to buy things, is to do it through someone they already love. It's the quickest way. It's word of mouth. It's the same way. Your friend tells you that they like, these yoga pants or whatever. You're more willing to take information from somebody you already respect and believe in. So music has the ability to jump ahead of that, because not only is there's a lot of data that's come out in the past couple of years about fandom, right? Artists create fandoms. Those fandoms are rabid. People are willing to buy vinyl, and they don't even own vinyl record players, So it's to the point of your question is like music helps you sort of like jump over a couple of hoops or jump through a couple of hoops to get to a place that's a little more personal, a little more emotional for a consumer than, quite frankly, many other opportunities. Because music is about emotion, right? It is an emotional medium. So you're able to tap into people's like self-identity and self-worth much, much quicker than you are with sort of any other celebrity or vehicle or sort of ad thing.
Yeah, it's almost a fast track to the consumer and to the art.
Exactly.
God, that was cheesy. But yes, it's absolutely, I 100% agree. Let's talk about specifically for you, Scott, and Augusta, you come from the brand side. And then I want to hear from you, Shauna, coming from the label side. When you think about effective music and brand partnerships, like what are the criteria that you're looking for? What are the criteria that you use to kind of deem success for these partnerships?
I think success is it's subjective. We want to sell cars. How many cars did we sell because of a particular partnership we did? But I think for me, kind of what I mentioned with Post Malone is when you for me finding a partner, whether it's a celebrity, a talent, an influencer. In Sony, obviously, we have the opportunity to look into film, music, TV, all these great properties with all this great talent across the fandoms of the world. So, I think for me, it's about finding someone who genuinely likes the product, right? And, we're just in a prototype phase. We'll make some fun announcements at CES at the beginning of the year. But for us, it's a creator car. It's a car for creators. And it's, my task right now is to vet and look for opportunities to find the right musicians for us to partner with. There will be some, fun technologies that we can play with in the future. So really identifying from those creators at the producer level all the way up to the big name artists, that we're establishing those emotional connections, those levels of trust with artists that, audiences and consumers trust. So for me, it's all about that genuine connection and partnership.
And if I can piggyback on that, I think what's important from the artist's perspective is the brand has to let the artist be the artist. If you hire an artist who already has a perspective, who already has a fandom, who already has something to say, and you try to change them, I don't want to deal with you. You have to trust the artist to be the artist. I'm in the middle to make sure that the art and commerce sides are communicating in a way that is respectful and understand what both sides bring to the table. But if you as a brand are coming and hiring one of my artists and want them to be not who they are, it's not going to work for anybody. Likewise, if an artist wants to go to a brand and change the brand, you have to have that baseline of respect and trust.
It's absolutely about collaboration and not hashtag ad. I don't want to pay to play somebody. If you don't like the product, that's fine. But there's someone out there that does that when they're communicating on our behalf or showcasing our products. Consumers are smart, especially on social media these days. They can tell when someone's just being played and spoons fed. What all the positivity about a brand. So when you find that genuine connection at the beginning of the partnership, it makes that's where the success is, right?
Totally agree. I think when you think about fashion and really culture in general, there's like a degree of relevance that we value. So really any good brand is telling, hopefully, two stories if you're lucky, one story. And in terms of communicating that story, you're trying to flow into consumers and their preference sets. And so the way you do that is obviously for Skims, there's like a relevancy to it. So I always play this game with all my friends where it's, hey, guess who we sign next? And this year it's progressed into Sabrina Carpenter, Charlie, and then we just had Tate McRae. And that list has like continually dwindled. So I'm like, there's 5 relevant pop stars. And then now we're in November, I'm like, there's 2 relevant pop stars left. And I think when we think about the pace and keeping a pulse as a fashion brand on culture, fashion really represents like your outer layer and your preference set, like you have it physically on yourself. And so making sure that aligns, both being top of mind, but also in the value system through the artist is really important, and keeping our main story through the artist itself and making sure those 2 pieces are kind of identical and authentic really kind of pursues what we're after in terms of telling a story about fashion. And then separately, if we're telling a story about function, we're making sure that value proposition is also omnipresent in everything we're delivering to communities.
So can I ask you just a follow-up on that, Scott, and actually for you too, Shauna, because when we were talking before this panel, you mentioned you knew certain artists before they signed this partnership that they were about to blow up. I'm curious for the both of you, what are the signals? So when you're thinking about, when Skims is thinking about Tate McRae or working with Sabrina Carpenter, obviously, they're top of the top. But are there signals that you're looking at or you start to see that you know that this artist is a perfect match? Likewise for you, like there are signals that you know that actually, let's talk Shabuzi. Yeah. Shabuzi's like about to blow up. Like, what are the signals that you're thinking about and looking at?
Sure, yeah. You guys know the artists where it's like, this person's all over my feet and I have no idea why. There's like a real stickiness, I think, to that, and we have like this group think of everyone is also saying very similar things. And for us, like, we think, that's a shift in culture, and really the power of it, when you're a fashion brand, you're planning things like years in advance. And so it's not the case that Charlie releases Brat, we put product that is very Brat. It's a large times you have to have the agility internally in the brand to be able to shift into the story you're telling with the product that you're receiving, and then fitting that, in moments, timing correctly with an artist that is relevant at the moment. And it's kind of like a seasonal thing, and you hopefully strike lightning in a bottle, and then you scale that and you tell that story really well.
And then on the flip side, that's why you work with labels or, quite frankly, media partners, right? So I was at Fader and SoundCloud prior to Empire. Those are all platforms that are known for creating emerging and independent artists, right? For championing them, putting them sort of first. And so I think the way you kind of figure out or you strike out lightning in a bottle is you work with the people who know how to create lightning in a bottle, right? Whether it's playlist makers or taste makers or whatnot, you find the people who are already curating what is cool, and you work with those people. I work at a record label, I hear a ton of music, right? That doesn't mean every artist is necessarily ready for a brand partnership. Eventually, hopefully they will be. But you can also see their indicators of like, how is their engagement doing? We have this artist named Cece Frey. She's gorgeous, amazing voice, country singer. I mean, really going to be the next sort of, like Lainey Wilson meets Britney Spears kind of vibe. She's amazing. She's showing a lot of the indicators that Shabuzi do, which is some of the same people are starting to engage with her content. What some people don't know is like, Shabuzi before Beyonce was still getting likes from Sheryl Crow and from Diplo and all these people because he isn't somebody who's just been making music as of last year. He's been in the industry for 10 years. So like you look at who sort of starts kind of hopping on and listening to and supporting these artists, and you use their sort of influence to kind of really hyper drive what's going on. And then of course it's all about like what media is saying, Shabuzi doing Colors, for example, back in I think it was March, was well before anybody really cared about a bar song Dipsy, and practically it was before the song was even written. So there are moments like that you have to have somebody on your team who's actually paying attention to culture. And then my team, myself included, can help you kind of digest that and bring it to the correct brand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool.
Is Cece Brat?
Kind of actually, but she's still a country artist. So, what is Brat?
I don't know. I just went to
country rap.
I will say, I think it's important to know also to kind of go to your Charlie exclamation, story. Charlie's also been around for decades, right? And the whole hyperpop, which was digitcore, which was also PC music. I'm losing you all. These are all micro genres that were on SoundCloud starting back almost 15 years ago. Yeah. And so just because that's getting popular now, it's getting popular because it speaks to the youth. And that's really what I'm talking about is you need to find the curators, the cultivators who are in the audience you're trying to reach and talk to them. They'll tell you what's next. You don't need to figure it out. There are people there who can already do it for you.
Yeah, and I think there's a hot debate right now about Best New Artist. The new Grammys list just got announced. And it's all about, and the discussion is, are these new artists? Because Shabuzi, Sabrina Carpenter, Charlie have been around for 10 years. She's not been out
Chapel.
But are they breakthrough artists or are they best new artists? So I think we'll probably see a shift in what that award is titled, because these people, they've been working in the industry, cultivating their crafts, but it wasn't until they found those moments of, virality, whether it's a TikTok sound or I think in Sabrina's case, you can even look at her opening for the Taylor Swift show all across the globe and seeing the physical reaction to her in those moments, and people really, from a brand perspective, saying, "Hey, this girl's got something. We should start to embrace her." People are really resonating with her in an audience capacity.
Yeah, Augusta, I'll stay on you here because in the prep session, I thought it was really interesting because you talked about Fila. It's backed by Sony, backed by Honda, two huge names. Afila is not a known name. And talked about using music to sort of get the Afila name. I know you guys are sponsoring the Variety Makers, a huge event in the music industry. Talk to me tell us about that sort of process and what the strategy is behind affiliating Afila with Variety.
Yeah, well, I think, it's something that's going to separate us from all the other traditional OEMs. I come from Audi and Lucid where, there are very different ways to do things, very plug and play that are, acceptable in the industry. And what makes us different is that Sony affiliation. And, it's going to be all about the tech that's in the car, the entertainment aspect of it especially. There's going to be opportunities to be able to create in the vehicle, bring in, outside inspiration and sounds to, customize your experience in the car. So, people talk about, everybody's making a new EV. What makes you different as well? It is that Sony DNA of technology and entertainment, film, TV, artists. There's a million things that we can play with and lean into. It really is a Hollywood car. So how do we bring that Hollywood experience into your driveway?
And you're forgetting that you can play a PlayStation in it. I just did it the other day. It's amazing. I was like, I'm not getting out of this car ever. It was awesome.
Yeah. So it's definitely the root of it is the entertainment aspect.
You have a bunch of teenagers down Melrose playing PlayStation in their cars.
In the backseat, in the backseat. You can't play it in the front seat.
In the front seat, you could do some karaoke, sing along though.
Nice. I want to make sure that we have time for questions from the audience, but before we get to it, look, a lot of marketers here. You guys are all coming at music and brand partnerships from different angles. What tips do you have for your fellow marketers in the audience and thousands and millions watching this on YouTube?
You want to go? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I want to, I talk to my team about this all the time. Like, if we're going to be successful, we can't bring any ego into our decision making. To assume, that I can give you a tip, I'm not going to do the humble thing, but really, it's largely about being in the correct spot to be able to tell the right story, and that's both externally and internally. I think internal influence is probably the most underrated skill a marketer can have. You tell a lot of stories to consumer bases that you think you're going to target, but internally, if you're going to get NBA partnership deals done, if you're going to sign celebrities, if you're going to invest in some big bets, the only way you're going to do that effectively is if you can tell a really good story internally, and that's if you're able to measure it. Sure. If you're able to measure it and they don't believe you, then you probably should tell a better story, because then you have all the ingredients and all it is delivery. And so I think that reflection on both myself, my team, and how we're explaining things is very critical and something to reflect on as a marketer probably every day.
For me, I think it's not viewing things as risks, but viewing everything as an opportunity. There's always the playbook, the way to do things safe and the way that they've always been done, but consumers like different. They want to see things being done in different ways. So, at the field, we have an opportunity to approach marketing very differently, audiences very differently. At the end of the day, we want to sell cars, but also, we have a story to tell, and how do we make that resonate with people? It's embracing the younger artists, comparing them with a bigger artist. You can guarantee, if you go with Beyonce, you're gonna get the views, right? But somebody would have been great to partner with Shabuzi, as he was rising up. He's still at that phase. But I think it's all about not underestimating your audience's ability to, embrace the new approach that you might have.
Speaking of new approaches, it's much cheaper to work with emerging and independent talent. You can get more of them for the same amount of money you're paying Cardi B. And I love her. There's nothing wrong with her. She's actually incredible. Think about it that way. If you're trying to reach multiple audiences, wouldn't you want somebody who's connected to an audience deeper, right? And so you can get, a Shabuzi and a Tyga and whoever, well, I guess maybe not Tyga, but you can get many artists for the same price that you pay for a major label artist or a major artist. Think about it from that perspective, because you can actually test and do things a little more quickly. You can do smaller, more interesting projects that way. So I really want everyone to kind of think about it from that perspective of independent and smaller artists tend to be a little bit more nimble. Their content also can be a little bit more nimble to work with. We haven't even touched upon licensing. Lord knows that's a headache. So my tip is to think about outside the major label system because it is a world of possibility.
Awesome. Those tips were worth the price of admission. Thank you. Do we have time for?
Yeah, we do. Who's got
Awesome.
questions?
Hi, Adam. I was just curious, as we're talking about this, we're obviously talking a lot about the artists, but when it comes to song selection or how you're trying to appeal to different audiences, do you guys have any? Thank you. Do you guys have any recommendations or thoughts in the process that you go about it? And then Shauna, I also just wanted to say, love Julian Casablancas, love the Lloyd.
I'll let him know.
The Girls remix.
It's so
It was
good.
like the perfect
The
combination.
Charlie remix. Oh, it's so good. I should have said that one. Yeah. Okay, so to talk about sort of music licensing and soundtracking and all that for a second, usually what happens is I get some great music, and I go, this should be for so-and-so. It was very easy with Shabuzi. He name drops Jack Daniels, right? He also name drops, Danfoss Boots and all these other artists are getting smart. They know how to kind of like get a brand interested in them nowadays. But sometimes you get an amazing song. I'm not going to say who, but you get an amazing song and you go, this really needs to be with so-and-so. And so I will just straight up cold email, or if I have a contact there, be like, I really think you need to pay attention to this song. And again, it's about the relationship. We kind of hinted on it, but like, I am there to be an expert for brands on how to work with music, both the artists and their content, right? Just like you are an expert on your brand, I trust what you need just as much as you trust what I need. The other thing that's kind of important too here is like, a lot of the times we also get a brief, right? So we'll get a brief that says, hey, for example, NBA 2K, right? Empire just did this huge partnership with NBA 2K, arguably the most important video game soundtrack there is. Sorry to the Riot Games folks around the room. But arguably one of the most important video game soundtracks there is, and they were like, look, we want new. We don't care what else, we just want new. So we submitted a ton of different genres, a ton of different songs, and ended up getting down to, I think, like 30. But sometimes, give me the inputs too of what you need, and then I can actually either go have it created by an artist that also aligns with you, or we probably already have it in the publishing catalog. So it's just about communication, to be quite honest. If you know what you want, we can probably find it. And to be quite fair, that happens at major labels too. That's nothing new. But it is really, truly about having a conversation about what are you actually trying to buy, what are you actually trying to sell, and how are you doing that? What kind of mood do you want set? What kind of emotions, as we said earlier, are you trying to sort of convey? And then the music will come very easily.
Yeah, and I think too it's about looking for opportunities where you can find those genuine interests with your brand. So Sean and I are finally actually working together properly via Variety Makers, which we're sponsoring. So we're sponsoring it because obviously we want to show up in the music space so that we're proud of the Sony audio technology that will be in the car. We are representing, the love of music, the love of fandom, and the artists themselves. So we show up in these spaces, maybe Grammys, but we're showing up in these places where the artists can come to us, experience the product, because, we're not on the roads yet, so experiencing what we have to offer to see, like, hey, like, actually, this is something I'm very interested in. I'd love to talk further about what we can do from a collaboration standpoint.
And then that can feed into creation, right? Creating a song that makes sense, putting whatever artist they may be, we probably already said their name today, in the car and letting them get excited and understand the tech and also sort of the future of music and that specific, like the future of that tech and how it can kind of work. Also is a great way to like make sure a good song is written too.
And also it can lead to natural collaboration. So it'll be announced tomorrow, but a little bit of a tease. Sony Honda Mobility is sponsoring a Newcomers Award for Variety and Makers, and maybe one of Shauna's fun makers might be honored with that. So we finally got to work directly with each other after 7 years. So it's been great.
Breaking news right there.
Well, amazing. Thank you.
Okay, now we have time for one more. Anyone got another question?
Don't be shy, come on.
Okay, here we go. Hello. Thank you for all the amazing insights. I am a brand side marketer, and one of the things that as a brand side marketer is always risky with working with a celebrity or an influencer is brand safety, and you can't always predict what the headlines might be with any particular individual. And so can you just talk a little bit about how any marketer should think about that and how you should sort of weigh risks and reward?
Yeah, I think we always talk about it in terms of there's going to be a level of randomness. Obviously, the head of our company also is in the news very often, and so when you think about that, the real benefit is building into that randomness framework, so there's like a degree of variability, and that is the point where we're going to push that variability in a ton of different ways. If it's crazy negative and outside of the brand guidelines, that is a risk we took beforehand. But the virality of it itself, we're very comfortable with in leaving that box, and everything around it that's supplementing the randomness is what we're building internally, and then externally, we're growing it, we're watering, we're reviewing the soil and saying, hey, this is what we double down on, and this is the fruit of us being in the fields or whatever. Sorry about the garden analogy.
And I think from an artist perspective, right, again, you have someone like me at that label or, even on the artist team, that is going to be your partner in this, right? And it's hopefully going to be honest, hey, this might come up. The other thing, too, is this: don't work with an artist you're scared of. I hate to say it that bluntly, but, if you're afraid of the artist, you're not going to let them do good work anyway. So find an artist that you're a little bit more excited to work with and a little bit more trusting of. Now, there's a whole, thing we can unpack there why you're scared of this artist to begin with, which I'm happy to do a therapy session on. But to be quite honest, if you're going to work with an artist, trust them to be that artist, right? They are always going to show you who they are. That's what artists do. They tell you, they communicate who they are in their art. So trust that that's who they're going to be the entire time.
Yeah, and brand safety is particularly important in the automotive world. I think it's about understanding somebody's history, what their public record is. I can't hire somebody who's had a DUI. But also, if they don't have that history, what is their current representation of themselves in the world? And can I trust them to not, go flip off the bridge or, push their car to 120 miles an hour because your car that you're promoting can do that. So, it's that mutual level of trust, but also the understanding of who you're signing on with and trusting them to do their work and represent you on your behalf.
And a really good contract.
Really, really tight.
So, well, thank you. Three of you guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.